Episodes 3 and 4. Let's go.
Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Shrek Attack. I'm Shrek, the real B Shrek. Let's get into it. We're going to talk today about episodes 3 and 4 of Dispatch. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have said I was going to do 2 podcast episodes on a week I had that was just a busy-ass week, but it's neither here or there. I also said I neither here nor... That's staying in, fuck it. It's neither here nor there, and like I said, I'm not committing to a schedule anymore. You get content when you get content, and you deserve content. I don't deliver enough content, but content. Anyway, so I want to make sure I don't fall into the trap of just recapping this week. I'm going to try to talk about this in a general fashion for a little bit, and then I'm going to go into a spoiler section where I talk about choices I made and how I felt about them. I think part of why I wasn't motivated to make a second podcast last week was because I fell into the recapping trap that I tend to fall into whenever I'm rusty, and I just don't want to do that. I felt bad about that episode after I released it. I was like, I just talked about what the fuck happened in the episode. I did not actually go over my thoughts or anything. So let's talk about that real quick. Episodes 1 and 2 felt great with the story. Choices did not feel too impactful yet, and I'm noticing some subtle things that the choices may have impacted. I'm watching a lot on Dispatch because there's a lot you have to go through. I mean, it's a short game. I could do multiple playthroughs, but I don't want, how do I phrase this? You're seeing my brain work in real time here. The steam is a-flowing. Okay, so the reason I'm going back and watching choices rather than going back and playing choices is because I don't want to be tempted to like my new choices better. I want to have to stay with my current choices. I want to live with the consequences of my current choices. If I go back and I play and I make new choices and I'm like, I like that outcome better, then I might fall into the trap of just doing my best run. I do all my games, all my choice-driven games, all my adult visual novels, everything based on how I would play or the choices I would make if I was in that circumstance. So for me to go back and make new choices and have the potential being like, oh, I like that more, I'm going to go with that, it's just not there. So I go back and watch the other people make other choices and how things kind of play out for them. That way I'm not putting in the effort, and I'm not like, well, I went through this to make this choice I like better, so I might as well stick with it. No, I'm stuck with my choices. There is potential that I go back and do a playthrough in a different style than I normally would after I finish. My biggest complaint about the first 2 episodes was how short they were. They were about 45 minutes each, and I just felt for an 8-episode game, I understand 8 episodes is kind of the thing now with TV series and stuff, and they want to mimic a TV series, that 45 minutes each is kind of short for a game, where it's a good amount of time for a TV show. Actually, like I said, this is something I want to get into with Peacemaker. I think 8 episodes is too short for a season. I think 20-something episodes is too long for a season. We need to come in with a happy medium for like a 15-episode arc in seasons. This isn't the correct podcast for TV episode conversations, though. This is about Dispatch. So episodes 1 and 2 set up the story really well, I felt. Episodes 3 and 4 continue to establish how you feel on the players, and the choices feel a little bit more consequential. I don't even know if I said that word right. I just woke up. Anyway, the choices feel like they have more impact on the story. There were a couple choices I felt were harder, but I kind of went through them. I'll discuss them towards the end whenever I get to spoilers. And the thing that I realized after... There was one choice where I went back and I was like, what if I just didn't pick anything at all? And it turns out the game makes a decision for you. It's not like a the choice runs out and you're punished for not saying anything and somebody else makes a decision for you. It makes the decision for you and your character goes with that fucking choice. And I'm kind of, I don't like that, because I feel like in a situation where time runs out, the person should be like, well, if you're not going to make a choice, I'll fucking make it for you. And then it should be remembered that you did not make a choice, because especially in this game where you are a dispatcher and you are the brain of the operations, it should reflect that you're not a decisive person, much like me, if you don't make a choice in that situation. Now, in the situation, it gave me plenty of time, and I knew what I was doing, but it still kind of sucked. I think there was like fucking 10 seconds. It felt so fucking... I'm sure it was much shorter, but it felt so long in the time where I was playing it, where I knew... Basically, you had to cut a member from your team. I'm not going to say who the members were or anything at this point, but I knew I was keeping the one guy and cutting the other person, but I still took that time because I didn't want to cut the other person. I did not want to cut a member of my team. It felt like I just got this team and I need to set an example. I need to show them that I believe in them, and then I'm forced to cut a member of them right away. And I felt in that situation, me cutting a member was not like the best move for the team, because how do you show up and say, hey, I'm going to turn this program around, and then just cut a fucking person? I guess it does show that you mean business, and that was the idea behind it from we'll call them the higher ups of the company, because they're the ones that are like, you need to cut somebody. However, the fact that, and there was a choice where I could be like, I don't think that's a good idea, and I did say that, but they were like, well, we need to shake something up. I do feel that episodes 3 and 4 were better on the time the length of the episodes. They were a little over an hour each. I would really like that if continuing forward, each game gets a little bit longer, each episode gets a little bit longer. At the end of these episodes, though, I did not have the feeling of, damn, that's it. I did have the feeling of, I want more. And at the beginning, like, don't get me wrong, in episodes 1 and 2, I wasn't like, damn, that's it. Like, oh, there wasn't enough there. It was like, oh man, I went through that fast. In this one, I was more like, well, that was a reasonable amount of time. I still want more. And it left me on the fucking choice. I mean, the choice was tough. This was my tough choice because of the situation. I will get to that here in a few minutes. But it leaves you on a choice where either way you kind of get a happy ending. Not so much, it's not really a cliffhanger that leaves you on. It's just like a, fuck, I had to make that decision. And I'll explain the decision I made and why I made it here in a few minutes. I want to point out real quick how excellent the character growth is so far. How excellent the voice acting, the animations and everything are fucking great. There were 2 choices that were hard. There was one choice that I did not want to make, even though it was an easier choice for me. And I'd say those were the 3 big choices that I have made so far in this game. They were the 3 choices that felt like they had the most impact on this game, and I will be thinking about them for a while, probably. This episode also had you do the dispatching part more. It's Superhero Dispatch Network. That's the name I couldn't fucking remember last week, by the way. But this episode had you dispatching more, and that's the, like, game within the game. That's the part that's like, this is the police. That's the part that you have to be on your toes for, have a strategy for. I really fucking enjoy it. And if they came out with, like, a standalone where you just did that for some period of time, like a little side game in the game where you only did dispatching after all the episodes come out, I think that would be sick, and I'd probably play it every once in a while. The game within the game is straight up, this is the police, which is a fun game, and you don't need a story for it, you just need to, it just kind of keeps happening. The decisions were harder, the way they went about it was unique, I feel, and it made sense for the situation, which I'll get into here in a few minutes whenever I get into spoilers. But it just felt so much refreshing, because at first I was like, alright, this is going to be easy. I failed a couple, like, I guess I'm going to call them missions. I failed a couple they were calls. That's the word I want to use. I failed a couple calls, but that was more RNG fucking me. Anybody that knows me knows I do not do well with RNG or luck-based fucking games. And the RNG just kind of failed me. I think I failed one call, but it was a call where I had like a fucking 80% chance to pass, and RNG just kind of said, fuck you, buddy. And I'm used to that. That's fine. It's part of the game. I wasn't mad or anything. I was like, well, that sucks. This one, I failed a lot because it was definitely harder. And I understood, like, I could have probably handled things better, but wow, there was fucking chaos, and it was fun. At the end of the day, I wasn't like, fuck this shit, I fucking hate this. It was fun. I was like, that was chaotic, and I fucking need to get better at this. It added a sense of urgency. It added a sense of realism. And I think that's just fucking sick on how they handled that. Because if you get put in charge of a program where you are rehabilitating villains, try and make them into good people, it's not going to go smoothly. And I felt episodes one was a tutorial, so that barely fucking counts. But I think episode 2 was fairly simple. And then in the element of they know you're going to cut somebody, so it shakes stuff up, they make it a lot harder because the villains are like, I don't know, frazzled for lack of a better word. I think that just makes it so sick, and it does give the villains, I'm going to refer to them as the villains at this point, your team, as it gives them a chance to grow and character develop, and I think it's just well played out. At this point, I'm 4 episodes in. Episodes 5 and 6 come out tomorrow. And at this point of the day, you're probably listening to this where I can say that this episode comes out today. I do think that this game is worth the $30 I paid for it. 4 episodes, only halfway in, got 4 more episodes to go. And I think this game is worth the $30 I paid for it. I don't see a situation where they can fucking turn this around to where I'm like, fuck this, don't buy it. Alright, at this point, I'm going to go into some of the decisions I made, some of the story. So, this point forward, there will be spoilers. You have been warned. We are fucking 12 minutes into the episode, and I feel like we are enough time in for, like, you have listened, and if you want to get out, this is me extending the time for you to get out to avoid spoilers. I'm going to be talking about spoilers from this point on. I can't give more warnings about spoilers. You've been warned. 3, 2, 1. I cut Coop. I told you I was going to say spoilers. I told you you had 3. I counted down for you. You've been warned. This is on you if you're still here and you're upset about spoilers. On you. Anyway, so yeah, I cut Coop. The one where I was like, I don't know if it's Coop or Coupe. They do call her Coop. Some people call her Coupe. Her friend Punch Up calls her Coupe. I think it's supposed to be Coupier or something. And he's like, what the fuck's a Coupier? But that's kind of like the running joke with her. It came down between her and Sonar, and I wasn't going to cut Sonar. That's Moist Critical's character, and I love Moist Critical. There was 0 chance of me cutting Sonar. That is the choice, though, where I sat there and let the fucking thing run down, the little timer run down the whole way before picking Coop, though, because I didn't want to cut either of them, but I knew since the beginning there was 0 chance I was cutting Sonar. And I still felt bad about my decision. And that was also the choice where I went back and I was like, well, what happens if I just don't pick somebody? And then it picks Sonar for you. So I'm fine with my choice. Do I want to go back and see what happens if I pick Coop? Kind of. Did I go back and see what happens if you cut Sonar? Yes, but just the little scene afterwards. I didn't go into too much after that. It was kind of funny because that is the big decision of episode 3. It comes at the end. And at the beginning of the next episode, Punch Up is good friends with Coop. So he plays a prank on you where whenever you open your computer, there's just a bunch of fucking Irish porn playing. And everybody in the office is like, what the fuck's the new guy doing watching porn? And it's like, sorry, office pranks, haha. I think that was really well handled. You find out that Punch Up and Coop were good friends. Punch Up leaves you in the middle of the next dispatch, which leaves you with a very limited fucking pool of people to use, which made the game all the more challenging. At the beginning of the episode, the team has been told by Blonde Blazer that somebody's going to get cut, so they start like sabotaging each other, and that was another part that made the game more difficult. But I also think that's very realistic you're trying to rehabilitate villains and keep them in this program where they get money and they have a chance to turn their life around. Some of them don't care. But yeah, a lot of my fails are from heroes sabotaging each other, and then I just didn't have I was going into some situations with 30% chance of passing because I sent 2 people and the one person was like, actually fuck you, I'm throwing you in a fucking puddle or something. I'm giving you, somebody slipped laxatives, Sonar slipped laxatives in Punch Up's coffee, and you're trying to tell Punch Up how to get through it, but even if you get him through it, he doesn't go in the mission, and then the mission has a much lesser succession chance of passing. That was a fucking mouthful. I could have just said a much lower success rate, I guess. I don't know. A success rate chance. Something that I should have mentioned in the spoiler-free section is that I feel the game is pushing you one way in a certain scenario. However, I'm not going to go back and add it. So I feel like the game is pushing you in a certain way, in a certain scenario, and that is your dating, quote-unquote dating life, between Blonde Blazer and Invisigal. I think both characters are pretty fucking cool. I think those are the 3 main characters, if you will, of the game, and you're kind of in this weird love triangle thing. So I'll get into that here in a second. I want to talk about the other major decision before I get into that, but that just kind of popped into my brain real quick, so I wanted to say it before it popped back out, because nothing stays in my brain for long. It's just a constant cycle of endless bullshit going in and out. At the beginning of the episode, if you remember last week, I said that Blonde Blazer was dating Phenomenon, and she, at the beginning of episode 3, she reveals that she broke up with him, and that's why she didn't want you to go to dinner with him. So Phenomenon goes into this deep depression where he's just fucking blocking traffic and falling out of the sky onto cars in the parking lot where Blonde Blazer works, and kind of just all around kind of a fucking mess right now, which is important because later you have to make a choice to replace Coop, in my situation, Sonar potentially, the person that you cut with a new member of the team. Now your options are the newly depressed Phenomenon that comes with fucking fantastic stats, or the janitor intern Waterboy who wants to be a superhero but just kind of, I don't know, is he's not confident in himself, and he's brand spanking new. He comes with garbage stats, and he's just kind of a guy who wants to get there. And this was kind of a hard decision. Everyone bullies Waterboy. He has a stutter, and he's just kind of a fucking dork. But you helped him in the beginning. You tied his tie for him. You gave him some words of encouragement. And I just felt like kind of a soft spot for him. And Phenomenon, I didn't really have too many interactions with. It's just kind of this would be good for the team. But I did feel for him, because you do go talk to him and you're like, hey man, I've had some down points too. You just kind of got to get back up, and he thanks you. I didn't pick the funnier choices for it, but I went back and saw it, and I understand it's probably harder for some people to pass up on him than it was for me. And I still felt like it was hard for me to pass up on him. With that being said, I chose Waterboy because I felt I wanted to help him along becoming a hero, chasing down his dreams, and there was more potential there for me to be a better person and help somebody who really fucking strives to be a good person, as compared to just doing a favor for a guy because he got broken up with. After going back and watching the other decisions, I felt fine in my choice. I feel fine in all my choices. Let me just throw that out there, but I did want to go back and see what happened, so I had talking points for whenever I talked about this. I think my decision feels more appropriate for how I am playing so far. Feels more appropriate for what I would do in the situation. If people who know me know that I'm all for the underdog, and Waterboy is definitely the fucking underdog. And I just want to see him become a great fucking hero. Phenomenon, I believe, will turn it around at some point. I just think he's already been at the top, and I don't think he needs help getting back to it, as to where Waterboy has zero confidence in himself and needs that little push. I have been on and off choking in between my pauses here. If you can hear that in my voice, I'm sorry. I took a drink of water on the side and went down the wrong tube, and I've been struggling ever since. So sorry if that does reflect in my voice. This takes us to the final major decision, the one where I said it feels like the game is pushing you a certain way, but I don't think it's intentional in that way at all. Invisigal takes a liking to you. Blonde Blazer has had a liking to you since episode 1. Invisigal has been at the bottom of the leaderboards since you got there, and you have kind of given her special help, where she volunteered herself to go to Granny's, kind of fucked it up. And this episode, in episode 3, she's kind of ready to quit, and she's like, just cut me. And you, the villain that she failed to stop at the end of episode 2, appears in episode 3, and you're like, hey, why don't you go get him? You know, give her the whole you choose your own destiny fucking bullshit spiel motivational speech. She does. She goes, stops him, brings him in, and thanks you for not quitting on her. And then episode 4 starts with her having a fucking wet dream, a dream where she's fucking just having sex with you. Yeah, and, you know, ass and titties. From that point on, she's kind of following you around, giving you the up-downs, you know, I fucking you. And she even tells you about the dream. She's just like, hey, I had a dream where we fucked, and you have a few options that are kind of funny. I went with the one where I was like, well, was my dick big? And she's like, yeah. And you're like, yeah, I had that dream too. I thought it was hilarious. The jokes in this are really funny and don't feel forced at all. And it's great writing. It's great animation. Great characters. So at the end, and obviously Blonde Blazer's kind of into you, but she's also kind of your boss. So either way, it's an HR violation, I guess, because, you know, you're either dating your inferior or your superior. At the end, though, after your shift, after you bring Waterboy on, it's actually after a few shifts after you help her, but after you bring Waterboy on, you give Waterboy a little pep talk, then you go back and you see that Invisigal is at the movies and she didn't turn off her like device, so she's technically still on the clock. And you check in with her and she's like, yeah, I want to see this movie. There's still 20 minutes of previews, you know, hint, hint, nudge, nudge. And while you're talking to her, Blonde Blazer texts you and she's like, hey, you still at work? You up for dinner? And I'm sitting there talking to Invisigal, trying to hype her up, you know, trying to tell her that she did a good job, trying to keep making sure that she is a valuable part of the team. And I get a text from Blonde Blazer, and it's like, you up for dinner? And it makes you choose, are you going to go to the movies with Invisigal, or are you going to go to dinner with Blonde Blazer? This was a hard decision. I would like to say I'm more interested in Blonde Blazer as a character, as a potential love interest, as just, I think Blonde Blazer is that bubbly, aloof person. It really, the game kind of, oh man. Anyway, the game kind of takes like my two stereotypical girls I go for in games. You know, the bubbly, aloof girl, and then the kind of spazzy fucking bitch that punches you in the face. No, I will not elaborate more on this at this time. Anyway, I am more interested in Blonde Blazer. However, in the heat of the moment, you are talking to Invisigal over the phone, and you're texting Blonde Blazer. Also, I do not think, in the situation that I am going for here, that I am pursuing Invisigal as a love interest. Now, if that happens, it happens. But I am, especially in the way it played out, my thought process was, I'm talking to Invisigal. Invisigal needs a friend. She needs somebody to believe in her. And if I were to just be like, okay, well, fuck you, that's going to be a huge hit on her morale, and that's going to affect the team moving forward. And therefore, I picked going to the movies with Invisigal, where you buy popcorn and stuff, and you show up. Well, you're like, can you explain? Because she's watching a sequel. Can you explain the first part of the movie? And then while she's talking, you just put down the mic and show up. At one point, she said she misses popcorn, so you buy popcorn and a bunch of snacks because she's broke and you aren't. And she's like, oh, so are we friends? And I said, I think we're getting there. And she's like, I'm not going to buy... It was real funny how she put it. She's like, I'm not going to fuck you just because you bought me some corn. And, like, you go, can you just be normal for a second? And I think it played out real well. It played out kind of in the way I was hoping it would play out, because I'm trying to make it known. No, this is a professional relationship, but you need a friend, and I can be, that's why I was so glad. She's like, oh, we're friends now? Like, yes. The goal here is to be your friend, because you need somebody to be that positive influence in your life, which I don't know why I think that's me. I'm a negative influence in my own life. However, maybe I can help you. I'm hoping in future episodes you get a chance to kind of be like, hey, sorry to Blonde Blazer, but I did have something going on. And whenever you text her back, you say, hey, can't tonight, sorry, rain check. And she's like, yeah, that sounds good. So I do think that's how it could play out. But I'm hoping that is how it plays out. It's not like I made this decision and now I'm just all in on Invisigal. Because in that situation, it felt wrong. Like I said, if I say no to Invisigal, I leave her hanging, and that's going to be a morale hit. Like, her ego is not there. It's fragile. And I just don't think I could leave it hanging. I'm hoping in future episodes I'm just continue being like, yeah, I'm going to be Invisigal's fucking, support person, her friend, be there for her as I want to be for the entire team, because I'm trying to help these people turn their lives around. And maybe, just maybe, I do have a chance, a spark, an interest in Blonde Blazer that I can pursue on the side, as long as she understands that the choice I made that night, what I did that night, because I'm sure it will come out, and Invisigal's going to talk about it. The choice I made that night was for the betterment of the team. I made a decision based on the team and helping these people get their lives turned around, and Invisigal included, very dedicated to the job. I forgot to turn my phone on silent. I am sorry. So tomorrow I will find out what the ramifications are of my decisions and continue on. And I'm sure because we are getting episodes 5 and 6 tomorrow, and then we are getting the final 2 episodes the week after. We're getting the final 2 episodes next Wednesday. I'm sure that's going to leave me on this major cliffhanger that's going to eat me alive. And I will probably release an episode this weekend. There's nothing on my calendar this weekend. I will probably release an episode this weekend, but I would say tomorrow when it's fresh. But I think whatever they put me through tomorrow, I'm going to need time to kind of fucking sit on and reflect about. Just kind of have to sit on it for a minute and think about what happened. I didn't see this episode ending up being a half hour, but here we are. So, successful. And I didn't just fucking blab out a recap. I'm proud of myself. Anyway, if you made it this far, thank you. You're awesome. Stay awesome. If you're interested in following me, it is at TheRealBShrek, at TheRealBSCHREC, not an ogre. You can follow the podcast at Shrek Attack, wherever you get your podcast. Please make sure you leave a rating, drop a comment. Have you played this game? What decisions did you make? How do you feel about this game so far? You can follow this podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at Shrek Attack, SCHREC Attack, just like you see it here on wherever you're listening to it. And I don't know why I fucking spell it every time whenever you are listening to the podcast and it's on your fucking screen. It's in the description. The social medias are in the description. I almost feel like I'm insulting your intelligence. I don't mean that. It's just I kind of got this little spiel now and I want to roll with it. Anyway, very excited for episodes 5 and 6 of Dispatch tomorrow. Hope you are excited too. And I hope if you do decide to get this game or you have this game, we can talk about it because I need more people to talk about it with. Stay awesome. Hit that fucking music.
Calling me royalty.